The moral lens we chose was Kant. Kant argued that moral requirements are based on a standard of rationality that he called the categorical imperative. The categorical imperative includes things such as respect for all humans. Kant believes that immoral actions are irrational and moral actions are rational. Immoral actions are guided by emotion rather than reasons. For example, Hester's decision to stay in the community because of her love for Dimmesdale was immoral because it was guided by emotion, not by reason. According to Kant, all actions should be based on moral duty. Moral duty can be defined as laws set by humans, but Kant also argued that as rational beings, humans have the ability to determine whether laws are moral or immoral, such as laws that are unjust. Kant believed strongly that humans define their own laws and their own moralities. To act freely is not to do anything that one wants, because one can be governed by forces outside of themselves, such as nature, addiction, hypnosis, a tyrant, or any other number of things. He also believed that living accordingly with a law legislated by a government or somebody else is also not living freely, because for the same reasons above, those can be governed by things outside of your control, and you're therefore not defining your own morality. To live accordingly to no laws whatsoever is also immoral, because that is no freedom, that's just a random accident. Kant believed that people should live by laws that one gives to oneself as a free being, because people are rational beings and therefore can define their own morality. Kant believed that the morality of an action is solely dependent on the immediate desire of the person committing the action. Goodwill is intrinsically good regardless of the result, and bad will is intrinsically immoral regardless of the result as well. This is what separates Kant's view from the utilitarian point of view. As utilitarians believe that actions are moral dependent on their result, Kant's view is that the immediate desire is what defines the morality of an action. For example, torturing a prisoner to get them to tell you information that could save thousands of lives. Utilitarians would argue this is moral because you can save thousands of lives, therefore increasing the greater utility. But Kant would say that it is immoral because the immediate act of torturing the person, Act A, is immoral regardless of the result B, is moral. Act A is still immoral no matter what, because the immediate desire of the people torturing them, people torturing the prisoner, is immoral. The moral lens we chose was Kant. Kant argued that moral requirements are based on a standard of rationality that he called the categorical imperative. The categorical imperative includes things such as respect for all humans. Kant believes that immoral actions are irrational and moral actions are rational. Immoral actions are guided by emotion rather than reasons. For example, Hester's decision to stay in the community because of her love for Dimmesdale was immoral because it was guided by emotion, not by reason. According to Kant, all actions should be based on moral duty. Moral duty can be defined as laws set by humans, but Kant also argued that as rational beings, humans have the ability to determine whether laws are moral or immoral, such as laws that are unjust. And so our story begins with the two characters, Hester and Dimmesdale, and their despicable act of adultery. Let us go outside to take a look into the world which these two detestable moral creatures live in. As we enter the world of our two characters, we find Hester, a married woman, destroying her morality with a holy man through the act of adultery. What will happen next?
That was so worth it. I don't care what other people think.
I agree.
Every conceivable sexual act is despicable, besides intercourse between a married man and woman. And that is why we see on my chart, Dimmesdale and Hester are the lowest bowels of morality. They're despicable people. Let's hope we can see them change as we move on further in the story. As Hester is vilified by the town, she is put on a scaffold and made fun of in front of everybody. As Dimmesdale looks down upon her, he cries out to her to reveal him, to better himself, his own morality. Although he's pressured by society, as he says in his speech, he's actually doing it for himself, because it's his own agony that he's going through, and he wishes to escape the agony. And that's why he's giving this speech. For himself, to better himself, which I agree with. Unfortunately for Hester, she chooses to stay a despicable person and denies Dimmesdale the respect he deserves to become a better person by revealing him to the town. Although she thinks she is doing it for his own protection, she doesn't have the right to make that decision for him. It's Dimmesdale's life. Dimmesdale should be allowed to better himself, and Hester denies him the respect he deserves. As Hester is slut-shamed by the town on her pedestal of shame, Dimmesdale cries out to her to reveal thy fellow sinner, which is actually him, but only Hester knows that. This is a moral step for Dimmesdale, as he's seeking to better himself. Let's see what happens.
If thou feelest it to be for thy soul's peace, I charge thee to speak out the name of thy fellow sinner and fellow sufferer. Be not silent!
Yet Hester is silent. Alright, as we see in chapter 3, Dimmesdale calls out to Hester to reveal him as the father of Pearl, to reveal his sin in order to better himself. Society is pressuring him to reveal himself, but they actually aren't, because they don't know he's the father. He's the only one who knows he's the father, and he's the only one who can better himself. Society isn't pressuring him to do anything. They don't know he's the father. I'm all about self-betterment, and I think that all actions should be about your own morality, and they should not be about anything else, society's judgment. You define your own morality, and you define who you are as a person. And Dimmesdale, he's trying to make himself a better person through this speech. So that's why I raised his morality. I think it goes up. Hester, on the other hand, Hester denies Dimmesdale this right to better himself. Hester prevents him from going through that positive change to reinforce the morality he had before the treacherous act of adultery. Hester isn't respecting Dimmesdale's right to better himself. And that's why Hester stays low, because she's disrespecting Dimmesdale. She's disrespecting human rights.
On page 63, Dimmesdale says, "Speak and give your father a child." Hester says, "I will not speak."
As our story progresses, everyone's favorite adulteress, Hester, confesses to her husband, Chillingworth, who she betrayed, that she has wronged him.
I have wronged thee.
We have wronged each other.
Return to the graph. We see Hester's morality increase because of the confession to Chillingsworth. Because I believe that
Admission that there is a problem is the first step to recovery, and the first step to self-redemption and an increase in morality as a result. As Hester admits that she's done something wrong, she starts the first step in improving herself. This is a moral action.
Therefore, raising her morality.
As Pearl grows up fatherless, she becomes an evil child. Dimsdale's been denying her the love she deserves for a very long time. But in chapter 8, he starts to show some of that love and the respect that child deserves. The minister looked around, laid his hand on the child's head, hesitated an instant, and then kissed her little brow. Here we see the first act of affection from Dimsdale to Pearl. This is an increase in